is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 199. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... He's sitting here, Super Bowl Sunday, Austin, Texas. Another pair of preseason matches in the books. We got to view those two preseason matches, so we've got some takeaways, maybe some, jump into some conclusions here on episode 199. The big games today, lots of other stuff to talk about. Under 2 weeks away from returning to Q2 Stadium. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling great, man. Scratch that itch a little bit with some Austin FC preseason matchups there. But still, the big day is looming. It's lingering. It's getting ever closer. So I'm incredibly excited. I think today's episode is going to be a good one, informative. Got a lot of stuff to go over, but also some juicy stuff, some spicy stuff. Going to get into some rule changes as well. So, it's going to be a good one. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited for the Super Bowl. Looking forward to seeing you. And I hope everyone's having a good day thus far.
Yeah, man. And speaking of the Super Bowl, right before we hit record here on Sunday, the team posted, looked like the guys were going into training this morning out there in California, asking the guys as they walk in, who's going to win the Super Bowl. Pretty entertaining video. My favorite answer was Danny's. He said Pittsburgh, and I would love that. wrong Pennsylvania team there. Brad said the Browns, and then got Buka along with them. So I guess I'll ask you. Since we're a couple weeks away from starting to get back into our own prediction season. So who you got tonight?
I got the Eagles tonight.
Nice.
I said that the Bills wouldn't be able to beat the Chiefs 2 times in one season. Thought the Eagles would definitely smash the Commanders. And I just think Saquon right now is the best player in football. I think he's the most dangerous player in the league. I know he doesn't play the most important position, but I think he's the best player in the league right now. So I think he's going to have a big game. And, the Chiefs win. They find ways to win incredibly close games. And that's what makes them really great. But when you're on that margin and the razor, it's so thin, it can go one way or another. So I'm going Birds here.
I'm also going Eagles here. So go Birds. I guess game starts in 3-4 hours, something like that. So we don't need to talk anymore about the Super Bowl. Hopefully that doesn't age too poorly. Before we get into the rest of today's episode, just want to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube that the best way to support the show, you can actually support us financially by downloading the audio version of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And wherever you get your podcasts, usually there's a auto download switch that you can toggle on. You can do that and support the show going forward and not have to think about it further. You can go the extra mile, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, subscribing to the channel helps us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up button, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins. Diego Fagundez, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Before we jump in to some of the news that we're going to break down here, I just want to remind everybody, especially here on Super Bowl Sunday, to go sign up at Underdog Fantasy. The MLS season is almost here. If you want to make some picks on your favorite players in sports, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You choose higher or lower on between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. Underdog is available in 33 states, including right here in Texas. To sign up, click the link in the description of this video and use promo code NORTHEND at sign up, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick to get you started. So join the millions of fans who have won billions on Underdog. Promo code NORTHEND at sign up there with Underdog Fantasy. You click the link in the description of this episode on YouTube. Use that promo code at sign up. You get the bonus cash. You get the free pick. No better day to go sign up than Super Bowl Sunday here, So we leave that in the past and let's move into some of the news here this week. And I want to start something that we talked about, that news that broke while we were recording last week. We heard it from Glenn Davis and then also from Phil West here in the Austin FC universe talking about Josh Wolff going to be an assistant coach with Ben Olsen out in Houston. That was confirmed shortly after we stopped recording. And we had also speculated, well, Gavin Wolff said he was leaving Austin FC. Josh is going to Houston. So we bet Gavin is going to Houston. Not so simple. Austin actually sells the academy rights to Gavin Wolff to the Houston Dynamo. And in this move, Rodolfo Borrell allowed Austin to retain 20% of the sell-on rights for any international move that comes in the future for Gavin Wolff. And Austin FC can receive up to $100K GAM in potential add-ons. I imagine if he signs a homegrown contract and makes some sort of appearances, whatever that clause ends up being. Houston did not get Gavin Wolff from us for free. And I will take that as a slight win, considering we only got Gavin Wolff here in the first place because Josh was the coach, right? So it's not like Gavin wasn't a guy who grew up his entire childhood here in Austin. So I guess if we have to give up one of our more promising academy prospects, that we didn't get nothing for it.
Yeah, definitely a bummer that he's heading over there to the Orange team. But in regard to what we got back for this potentially, that all looks really good to me, and we're having a discussion before we jumped on here talking about this situation. And do we foresee Gavin ever suiting up for the Dynamo? Not really sure. I think part of this is as he gets older, when is he eventually breaking away from where Josh is? You know what I mean? Yeah. We've seen Owen, obviously, older than Gavin, able to stay here in Austin. There's a lot more going on there with that, obviously, with Owen's contract, his status, and all of that. But when that break comes, it'll be interesting to see where Gavin ends up. He is a very intriguing prospect, so I wish him well, and I hope I don't have to see him play for the Dynamo, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about when that potential break could come, what if Josh moves on again after this next year, right? If he gets another head coaching job, whether it's MLS, USL, what have you, and Gavin still, under 18 at that point, it'll just be something to watch, mainly because we have still a little minor investment here in the youngest Wolff. Let's move on to more Austin FC centric news, and this more for the fans, right? Gary Clark Jr. For Soccer Bible there posted early this past week on Instagram. There's your very clean look at the new kit here, and you can see, I think the one thing I wanted to point out that is a big difference from the food influencer that leaked the kit 2 weeks ago to the one we see on Gary here is that Siete logo on the right sleeve is black and not white, and I think that does look a lot better. That was kind of the thing that stood out to me aesthetically on the leak a couple weeks ago. That I was like, well, why is that thing white when the rest of it is verde and black? But I guess for me, I like this. It's growing on me. I'm gonna get it. I like this, and I think it's gonna look really good on the guys when they're out there at Q2.
Yeah, I like it as well. It looks great on Gary. It's nice to see this kit on someone who actually has talent. Gary's a fantastic musician, big fan. I'm going to get the kit as well. I just don't like the V-cut a little bit. If that's just a preference thing for me, but I'm definitely going to get this. It looks nice. It looks clean.
It's like a half collar on it. I feel like it doesn't come all the way down like you see some of those kits with the full collar, but I like it. No name on the back of your jersey, right?
Look, I've been thinking, I've been trying to figure out what to work in with B-Roo potentially. Yeah. I got to get something that is really.
Our number 5 is making his case this week, dude.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, we'll see. I've been pondering. I've been brainstorming. Nothing's really stuck right now, but we'll keep at it.
So release date is set for the 12th, which is Wednesday. And we heard through the grapevine there's going to be some sort of something going on Thursday the 13th. So we'll wait on the club to announce whatever may be going on here. But you can pre-order the kit right now. I think season ticket holders and Oak Collective members got a link emailed to them, I believe, to pre-order the kit if you want to do so. But certainly won't be tough to get your hands on this kit leading up to opening day. These are going to be everywhere. Anything else for you on the kit right now?
No, sir.
All right. Another thing that we got, I want to say Wednesday. It might have been Thursday morning. Doesn't matter when. Besard Sabovic is in the States. He flew to Austin reportedly on Tuesday, and we got this information from an interview with a Swedish outlet, I believe it was Football Direct, with different kind of spelling there. But he has now flown to California, has joined the team, has taken part in a training or two so far, did not appear in the Saturday match, but with Sabovic out there and wearing number 14, it was nice that they released that the day before it was his turn in the countdown on our social media accounts. Sabovic out there, and now, really, that's one down, one to go in terms of the guys who were not in the States yet.
Yeah, I'm hearkening back to when you asked me about, my level of concern with getting these guys over here. I said I wasn't very concerned. I don't know if I'm as confident as I was initially when I said that, but it's great to see that Besard is here, getting ready, getting rolled up, getting ready to go here for this season coming up and everything. Waiting on Azuni. We'll see how that comes through and everything like that. But still, I maintain that we did the legwork, the difficult work that we needed to get done earlier in this process, and these guys will get here with enough time to be able to at least get some time in the first game.
Yeah. I have now moved my Uzuni meter to questionable for opening night.
Yeah.
We're under 2 weeks, and I don't think he's played since December. Because you remember he was kind of holding out of trainings and games the couple weeks leading up to his signing. And the fact that we don't have confirmation that he's here yet, and I believe Coach Nico yesterday after the preseason match said, yeah, we're still waiting on him to get here. And so I don't know if we can ramp him up for actual game time by the 22nd. If he showed up tomorrow, I'd probably move that back to probable. But, with each passing almost hour, I'm just kind of resigning myself to the fact that we may be waiting until game 2 or 3 to see Mirtu Uzuni make his debut. And again, that's fine. It's not ideal. Yeah. That's fine. The team that we're going to have out there, barring injuries on the 22nd, is going to be just so much improved compared to, on paper, improved from what we saw in the opener last season. So Sabovic is here, and the roster rules and regulations are here. So you know that we love that. It's not quite as exciting as salary cap Christmas that we get here near the end of April and early May. But a couple changes, a couple that we knew, and a couple that we want to discuss here and just put on everybody's radar. Some of the things that we knew already, and I believe we've discussed on previous episodes. The summer transfer window was confirmed to be moved back a week. Clubs now, again confirmed, can buy out 2 players per season. Of course, Austin FC already exercised their first here in 2025 on the contract buyout of Giassi Zardes. And then some of these other changes that were not necessarily surprises, but just more light shed on some of these new mechanisms, especially the cash trade market that we know we already have 2 of those, right? Dejan Joveljic from the Galaxy to Sporting KC, and then Jack McGlynn last week going from Philadelphia Union to Houston Dynamo. So these cash trades, just like your international sales and transfers, 10% of that fee is going to go to the player. So I think Jack McGlynn was $2 million. I think. Well, even if it wasn't, let's call it $2 million. McGlynn then pockets $200K of that cash trade fee, and that fee will count against a player's salary budget charge. So another aspect of this is that a player acquired in a cash trade and made into a DP arriving at their new team cannot be bought down later, even if they're under that max TAM threshold. So the 10% fee going against the player's budget charge in a cash trade, and the fact that you cannot move somebody off a DP tag when you do a cash trade for them, it seems like most of these trades are going to be for either designated player type of assets or U22s because of the similar salary cap mechanisms that come along with the U22 initiative. And we've seen that, I think, over these first 2 trades. Like Joveljic, I believe, is going to be a DP for Sporting. And McGlynn, I think, signing a U22 deal there in Houston. But it does this is still a very positive, it's a move in the right direction. but it's not necessarily the Wild West. We can just trade everybody now intra-league rather. So just there's guardrails on this, right? And it's they're trying to close any potential salary cap loopholes that could be created with this domestic market or intra-league market rather, compared to what you have to do when you bring in those international transfers. So anything else for you on what we've discussed here so far?
I mean, I'm a fan of it. We're trying to retain as much talent in this league as possible and giving these guys avenues to not only be able to trade teams, go somewhere else, get that designation tag, and get some money off of it. I think it's a really good idea to me. So I'm a fan of this. Again, there still needs to be more changes done to these rules and regulations that have to take place for these rosters to look and operate the way that I think is most optimal for us. But I think these are steps in the right direction. And I continue to be impressed with what the league has done here. It's just an interesting space. You get the greatest player of all time over here. Things are really ramping up. There's a lot more excitement, a lot more support of this league growing right now. So it's a work in progress, but I think that this is a really, really nice move and something that's going to be able to drum up even more interest, because you're going to see, like you mentioned, that these are going to be DP level guys. You're going to see big names be moved, right?
Yeah.
And from the research that we've been doing and everything like that, Evander's floating around, one of the most exciting, fantastic players in this league. So be able to do that where it's you're getting these players moving, energizes fan bases. So I'm for this. I think this is good for the league.
Yeah, I believe the reported bid from FC Cincinnati to Portland is currently $12 million for Evander, but it still need to get the whole Lucho Acosta thing settled there, I think, before any Evander cash trade happens. And speaking of the DPs and U22 slots, teams can now open up DP or U22 slots via loans if the team taking on the player outside of or I guess intra-league as well. If the team taking on a player via a loan takes on 100% of that player's salary, then the team loaning the player will get roster slot relief in the form of a designated player or U22 slot, where in the past, that was not always the case, right? You think about Sebas Ferreira with the Dynamo, who went on loan for, I think, a little over 6 months, 2 seasons ago, and they did not get DP slot relief for that move. So I think, again, this is a good, again, another small step in the right direction. Now this one, I know you raised an eyebrow at, and I think it's fair. The 2 teams that have qualified for the Club World Cup this year, which is Inter Miami and Seattle Sounders, both of those clubs will get an additional $750K in GAM this season, and they can get fronted up to $1.25 million in GAM if they do take on that GAM. That must be paid back over 2 years beginning in the 2026 season. So potentially $2 million in additional GAM for Inter Miami, who needs it, and Seattle Sounders. I'm kind of sitting squarely on the fence here, where I want our representative teams, especially Seattle. Inter Miami kind of got gifted that we decided that they were going to be a representative at the Club World Cup. Seattle earned it with their CCL championship 3 years ago now. So I get that we want to have good representation at the Club World Cup. And again, regardless of having $2 million in GAM, the $2 million in GAM is probably not putting you over the top against Atletico Madrid or something like that, right? But I do understand wanting the league to be represented well and not get completely trashed in this tournament. At the same time, going back to what I said about this is not going to put you over the hump against the majority of the teams in that tournament. Now these teams have such an advantage. Can you imagine what you can do with an additional $2 million in GAM? That is a lot, even if you have to pay it back over the next 2 years. So I'm on the fence. I don't know if I'm totally in favor of this. I don't know if I totally hate it. But I don't know, man. What do you think about this?
I mean, I'm literally right there with you, know, and I think I'm just going to reserve the right to have no overarching decision on how this is going to look.
No overreaction yet.
Yeah, because it's just I get that we don't want to get embarrassed when we're going there. I understand that. I don't want MLS teams to get embarrassed when we go there. And the possibility is still very real, even despite the fact that you get the 2 million GAM, like you said. But that 2 million GAM, when you be able to use it, or adding players additional to your team when you're going back to play MLS teams, is a huge advantage, and you're able to do a lot with that in regard to impacting your roster to be an MLS contender. So I'm fine with it because I feel like I have to be. And it seems like incentive for us to go ahead and get into that position.
Sure.
So it's some more incentive for the other teams as well to really try to go make out, to show out in some of these tournaments and cups and qualify for these positions.
Yeah, this is not some hill that I'm going to sit here and die on, that this is ruining the league or the parity or anything like that. But look, if we have to see Seattle in a potential first round, best of 3 series, I'm going to remember it then for sure that how do they have all these guys? Oh, well, they got the extra money just because they, won a tournament 3 years ago. So I guess we'll deal with that if it comes. Then we have the roster expanded from 30 to 31 slots. The supplemental roster now goes to 11, just like your favorite amplifier, right? And then there's also slots 31 that can be used for off-roster homegrowns. And I believe no matter if it's an off-roster homegrown or just slot 31 on the supplemental roster, that player in that slot is not eligible to compete in MLS competition except with the short-term call-up mechanism, and that player will not count against the international slots for a first team. So I don't think, especially for the off-roster homegrown at this point, because an off-roster homegrown has to be under 21 and on their first homegrown contract. We just don't have anybody that profiles like that right now. Like Irvin, Micah, like these guys. Irvin, we think close to a homegrown deal. Micah on his, Owen Wolff, I think now on his second homegrown. We just don't have, we want Micah to be able to play. We want Irvin to be able to play. We're not up against it with supplemental slots. So I don't think we're going to see slot 31 used anytime soon. Especially because I saw it doesn't count against the international slots for the first team. I was like, okay, well, do you maybe sign a Van Ryn, a Bonachera, one of the second team guys that are internationals because they won't count against the first team slot? But if that slot 31 can't play in regular season comps anyways outside of the short-term agreement, we use the short-term agreements on the second team guys anyways, so I don't see why we would sign them to a first team deal. So I don't think slot 31 will affect Austin, at least this season.
This is another rule that I look at that seems advantageous for some clubs. You look at some teams like Dallas who churn out homegrown talent all the time, and I think this is a roster mechanism that will benefit clubs like that. We're not one of those clubs right now. So again, I will reserve the right to complain about this later on if it hurts Austin FC.
Yeah, as we tend to do here. So before we get into these preseason games, I do want to just announce to everybody who is interested, right? The nonsense is coming. The best ball draft, Verde Best Ball League. Shout out to Verde All Day, the defending champions there. We'll have Verde All Day, Moon Tower Soccer, We Are Austin TV, the Verde Pendant. We're still finalizing the league, the date and time of the draft right now. But for those of you sickos who like to get in on the fantasy talk and come by and hang out with some of your favorite Austin FC content creators, we are planning on that next Tuesday night, the 18th. So when that's finalized, we'll blast it out on socials. But just wanted to get it on the radar for those North End listeners that enjoy the Verde Best Ball League and especially the draft process. That's coming next week. Anything else for you on Best Ball League? Because it's all coming up fast.
Look, we're not going to be talking too much shit this year because we've talked a bunch of shit before and it hasn't worked out too well for us. But the heavy hitters of the Austin FC content creator community and everything like that, it's always a really fun time to get all those dudes together in one space. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the league has grown in popularity and people who have been following it and interested in it as we've done it for now that this is going to be the third season. So, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be fun. It's always fun.
Well, let's talk about these two preseason matches that we had this last week. First up was the defending MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy. This was on Wednesday. And again, both of these were streamed live on the club's website. So we got our first and final looks at Austin FC here in the preseason. Because look, you can kind of sneak your way around Q2 sometimes on game days and get a view there. But this was just flat out 90 minutes. We get the full broadcast view there. And we get the full lineup graphics here from the team. So the first half against the Galaxy, in this Galaxy match, we did not see, kind of we don't have our first choice lineup ready yet because we don't have everybody in and ready to go. But like potential starting lineups, right? Like you don't think a guy like Jimmy or Micah or Riley Thomas are going to be in the 11 on the 22nd. So we have very much split squads here again, but you see the first half 11, Stuver and net, Svatok and Leo as the center back pairings, Riley Thomas and Guilherme Biru as the fullbacks, midfield, Ilie Sanchez, Micah Burton, Danny Pereira, Jader Obrian, Jimmy Farkalin, and Brandon Vasquez up top. Ilie with the armband here in the first half, and we have seen that armband be passed around a little bit here in the preseason, as it tends to do. And I've kind of narrowed down, I think, my choices for captain here. I still think I have Ilie as the favorite, but Brendan Heinzike has carried it not only when Ilie is not on the pitch, but in Saturday's match, they started together, and BHI had the armband. So, again, we don't know what happens until opening day. It could still be Ilie, and I still slightly favor him, but BHI seems to be making some inroads in the leadership category.
I have taken notice of this. Absolutely. I mean, BHI has had one of the most impressive off seasons thus far with those highlight goals and impressive performances going forward, as well as getting the captain's band several times. So like, it seems that he's taken a step, and I'm all for that. And if there's some healthy competition to go around for the band, I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And also before this, I want to shout out Austin FC News _ on Twitter, pointed out, and there's a couple Austin FC News accounts, so I don't know exactly which one that was, but that was the handle. This is, and I can get a couple zooms here, I guess. There appears to be a trialist goalkeeper here, It's not the best lighting for this picture, just screen grabbing from the Instagram story, but we knew on the first week of camp we had a trialist goalkeeper here named Blake Gillingham, who came out of Creighton this past season. Looking at pictures of Blake Gillingham and looking at the video of this trialist goalkeeper, I don't think this is Blake Gillingham. Maybe we get that confirmed one way or the other this coming week. But I've got that on my radar, looking out for crumbs on this potential unidentified goalkeeper trialist here. Out there with the first team in California, which I think is a little bit telling. Like maybe Blake Gillingham is with the second team right now, trialing with them. And we've got this other body out here backing up Brad and Steph. Again, just a minor note, but I did want to bring that up here.
I don't think it's not nothing, but we'll see how this plays out here.
Yeah. So a couple notes from this one here, in the first half. 9th minute, Austin does concede very early on. Mickey Yamane, one of the fullbacks there for the Galaxy, got right around Danny here, just kind of slices through the midfield. He finds Fagundez on the left side. Diego slipped Miguel Berry through, who put a cross in front of net. And Gabriel Peck, picking up where he left off in that fantastic season last year, he pokes it home. I thought this first half, again, we haven't seen a ton of Riley Thomas, but he looked very much like second round pick, second team player, where like it wasn't a glaring hole, but Diego Fagundez made it look like second round pick against Diego Fagundez on this goal. So conceding early on and definitely dampening the spirits of the sickos who are tuned in at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday to see their first glimpses of the team. Again, whether you know that it's a split squad out there or not, you never want to see the ball going in the back of your own net less than 10 minutes in.
For sure. Not like a deer in headlights for Riley there, but still just clearly not at the level that he needs to be if we're going to be relying on him for minutes, which we're not going to be doing.
Right. And against the defending champs, like
correct.
You would expect maybe the Galaxy would have problems if they don't make Austin's second round pick look like a draft pick, at least at times through his 45 minutes there. I did want to give credit to, I thought Jimmy made a great move on the left side of the box there about 12 minutes in, found Danny near the top of the area for a shot that got pawed away by Mikovic, who was in there for the first 45 before John McCarthy stepped in the second half. I just thought that was a nice find from Jimmy. And again, it's just a guy you want to continue to see improving as a supplemental first-team player.
Preseason Jimmy is really a thing.
Especially in California.
This was a great ball and a great rip by Danny, and then just a really fantastic save.
Yeah. And then 18th minute. All right, let's just watch the video while we talk about this here, Evie, because in the 18th minute, you've got Diego Fagundez making a run here, Alexander Svatok marking him. These guys come together. Little bit of a bump there from Fagundez. I should share this on the screen while we're talking about it, so we'll run that back here. You can see it now on the YouTube. A little bit of a bump right there, taking Svatok to the ground, and then Svatok, when he goes down, little bit of a kick out there at the end, and you can see Diego takes exception, shoves him, and then look who ducked. Yeah, that is not the guy to shove. It's not. I'm sorry, man. This is number 5 on Austin FC. This is not some scrub at Soccer Zone South Austin that you can just run up and steal on. Okay, this is Alexander Svatok. This is not the guy.
Nope.
All right. And so that was a little bit fun right there for the fans. Like, okay, we're getting the tensions are high here in the preseason match. But then what I thought was it was interesting. It was kind of like you said at the top of the episode. There was a little bit of spice after this too on Twitter because Diego Fagundez jumps right on Twitter after the match and starts replying seemingly to every Austin fan who said boo. I counted 20 by that night, 20 replies from him to fans. And look, that we love Diego for everything that he did for the club, but this is also this kind of is a point to me of why I'm glad he's not gone. He's doing kind of the same thing we got on Seba for last year. Just and especially, dude, it's a preseason match.
Preseason.
And it seemed to me, I'm just, again, speculating here, and maybe he'll come find us and make a comment too, but it seemed like he was maybe a little bit surprised that Austin FC fans sided with the guy who's on Austin FC. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's preseason. It's a bad look if you're Diego, in my opinion. You're online responding to people who are Austin FC fans. I appreciate everything Diego did for us. I loved him when he was here. I don't love him anymore. He's not part of our club. I understand that he had a great run here for this team and everything like that, but he's on the opposing team, and his exit was very unceremonious for me. And I think that if you were paying attention that season with everything that was going on, you can direct a lot of things back to one singular point.
I would say, especially in terms of your locker room leaks and things like that, immediately ceased after that trade. It was so thinly veiled. I don't think we need to dance around that anymore.
That's the thing that's that gets frustrating is some people are still in denial about this. And it's if you dislike the coach and you hate how everything's going, that's one thing. Okay, I understand that. Go ahead and make that public. You know what I mean? You want to go get a reporter and say that after a game, you can do that. Yeah. To me, when you're leaking stuff from the locker room, you're betraying your brothers. You're betraying the trust that is supposed to be in place in a locker room. And I understand that season was incredibly difficult. People took a lot of flack for many different things, rightfully so or wrongfully so. But this was a situation where it's to me, that stuff doesn't leave the locker room because it's with your boys. So, I don't think that Diego's too up to date with who Alexander Svatok is, but yes, he is definitely not the one. And I think that the response from most of the Austin FC fans was right on point. And again, it's preseason. I'm glad neither of them got hurt. That's the ultimate thing for me. So I think walking away from this unscathed was the best case situation.
Well, Diego shared the picture of Alexander, and he had that little scratch on his neck. I don't know why that was a badge of pride. I scratched this man, but okay.
Yeah. So this was a bit of the spice, man, and everything like that. I'm happy to move on from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will do just that. We get to the second half, or you get to halftime, 1-0 LA. The second half, we get the line change here. Except for Stuver. Stuver stayed in net for about 15 minutes. Steph Cleveland did come on in the 60th for him, but then the 10 outfield players that changed. Kolmanich and Gallagher at the fullback slots, flanking Cascante and Heinzike in the middle. Then Torres, Rubio, Wolff, Diego Abarca wearing 37, Buca, and CJ was the second half lineup here. And we do, Julio notably got the armband here. 54th minute, you get a Rubio-headed attempt on frame. John McCarthy, who had subbed in, right, the Galaxy's starting goalkeeper, he bats it out for a corner. We had Owen on corners in the second half. Danny was on corners in the first half. Like I mentioned, Cleveland comes on for Stuver in the 61st. Then we get Antonio Gomez on for Diego Abarca in the 67th, which it seemed to me we moved to somewhat of a back five there and got the wing backs up. And again, we've seen some of these second half scrimmage game changes from Coach Estevez that appear to be, again, in the games before this one, was like, okay, we're going to make this change to adjust to the game state. No matter who's on the pitch, we're adjusting to what the score is. And it seemed like we started to get guys like Kolmanich, guys like Gallagher a little bit further up the pitch when we put Gomez on. And Gomez himself had a couple runs that started maybe a little bit shaky, but he was also dangerous. And he ends up contributing here on this goal. I don't know if they would have given him an assist for this or not, but we can go ahead and take a look at this goal. We get, I mentioned Owen on corners here. So we get the short corner in the 78th minute here. If this video, here we go.
Classic Fudge.
And you see,
corner.
I mean, yeah, he saw Fudge. So I just want to draw your attention to the chop here by Owen on this defender. I don't know who that was for the Galaxy, but Owen, look at all the space he has for that simple move there. Driving the end line here and puts it in the blender. And boom, see that little touch? That was Antonio Gomez. I thought it was CJ at first, but CJ standing about 8 yards from net there, right center. And so Gomez gets his touch to the ball, falls right to Buca, and Bukhari puts it home for the equalizer. So that is how this game ended 1-1 here, E. And I will say, I thought the second half, Austin looked a little bit more dangerous, not just because of the goal. We had the Rubio-headed attempt on frame that McCarthy had to paw out for a corner. Right after this goal, CJ gets a long ball attempt. He's on the run. He puts it off the bar. Like, we almost came in very Jimmy fashion like we did against the Galaxy last year. We almost went boom, boom, and grabbed the victory here, but it ends 1-1. And again, like, ultimately, it didn't seem like anybody was worse for wear. Nobody got seriously injured. And that is the most important thing here in these preseason matches.
Absolutely. And I'll just say Owen has looked wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, and like we talked about after Josh's departure and everything and what that was going to mean for Owen and what was going to look like. I was hoping and wanting that this would open him up a little bit, give him a little bit less pressure on his shoulders and just be able to play a little bit more free. And I think that has been the case thus far. Obviously, it needs to translate into regular season play when the games start to matter. But I have been very encouraged with what he's been able to produce thus far in Nico's system.
I agree, and we'll see some more of that here in the second match. This took place on Saturday, same time, same stream on the club's website. But the big difference here to start this one, E, that is a team of ones, in my opinion here, with Stuver in net. I mentioned Heinzike with the armband. He was paired with Cascante. You had Gallagher and Biru out there as the fullbacks. And then midfield, Ilie, Danny, Owen, Hadar Obrian, Osman Bukhari out there on the wings, and Brandon Vasquez up top. In this, I guess the first thing I want to mention, Mikkel Dessler did not play once again. And that's something I'm not sure if we brought that up on last week's episode, but coming into this weekend, I was very, very nervous about Mikkel Dessler. Because the last time I think we had a confirmed Dessler sighting was pictures in training leading up to the Louisville match back on the 1st of the month. So not seeing Dessler for like almost 10 days and then not getting in the lineup here, I was very, very worried. Then about 30 or so minutes in, you catch this on the sideline. Not only is Mikkel Dessler there, but he's talking with Nico Dubersarski. So I think we actually saw Dubersarski on the sidelines. We caught a glimpse of him in Wednesday's match against the Galaxy. But to see Dessler out there, and again, this is just my own crazy fan emotional side where I'm trying to rationalize all of these thoughts that I have. But to me, this takes a lot of the pressure off where 2 years ago when like Jean Colemanich tore his ACL, I don't think we heard about that for a few days until after it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Dessler potentially had a serious injury, I could totally see us not knowing about that quite yet. I also don't think he would be on the trip if his injury was keeping him from at least doing some sort of individual work on the side during practice. So I let out a huge sigh of relief when I see Dessler just chatting it up with Dubersarski there. Because look, man, he is going to be, to me, he's just going to be such a key to our success this year. Right? Won the beep test. And again, that doesn't necessarily translate to on-field performance, but I think his endurance, right? It's proof of his endurance. And I think he's a guy that we're going to try to count on for as many full 90s as possible here in 2025. So I'm really hoping that this is just completely maintenance based, right? We know he sat out the end of last season dealing with some lower body injury. I think it was an ankle, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that we see him in the lineup starting on Wednesday, right? Closed door match against Charlotte to conclude the Coachella Valley Invitational for Austin this year. But it was good to see him.
It was great to see him. I'm right there with you. I don't think he travels if he's dealing with something that is overly dangerous to his health. And, not just the winning of the beep test, the combination of his endurance and everything paired with what we were able to see him do when he was out there in the limited amount of time that we were able to see him play. And with the style that we think we're going to play here, I think he's going to be an integral part. Also, as you brought up, that is one of the places that we're the thinnest in regard to quality players that we're going to be able to count on during MLS regular season play and hopefully into the playoffs. So I do think Dessler is slated for a big, important season here for this team. So glad to see that he's out there with the team. Hope he's all right. Obviously, I don't think he's in a walking boot. He's not on crutches. Nothing like that's going on. So I also breathe a sigh of relief there. But yes, for the people who don't get to listen to Zach every day, I was very aware that you were super concerned about this.
A couple notes from the first half. I think overall, man, we get to the half and it's 0-0. Austin was, especially in the first 30 minutes of this match, was by far the better team and the more threatening team. Really on the first sustained possession, we had some good movement here from Austin where Ilie pounces on a loose ball near the top of the box, shoots it, forces a corner off the deflection. We got nothing doing on the corner. And in terms of the structure here, looked like 4-3-3 in possession, kind of dual eights in the middle of the park there, like Ilie behind Owen and Danny, and Owen slightly more advanced than Danny. And then on D, we're 4-4-2, where Owen was up top with Brandon Vasquez. And I also Bukhari was on the left in this game, which was a little bit interesting to me. And I'm still getting used to the number change because it took me about 15 minutes to realize, 11, Buka's on the left this game. Hader is on the right. And I thought that was also interesting too, man, because I want to let you get some of your takeaways from the first half off here. But on that left side, watching Biru invert towards the midfield and really letting Bukhari isolate on that left side against St. Louis's fullback out there, I didn't look to see who was out there really for St. Louis. But getting Bukhari in one-on-one situations we know that's what we want to do. And so seeing that come to fruition in this first half multiple times, that was encouraging to me too. And I think overall, right, it feels like the guys have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more speed in possession, because there's still you still have a couple times where we have sustained possession. We're passing around the back and we're passing back to Stuver and resetting, right? But when the guys see that little bit of daylight to progress the ball and maybe create a chance, at least in this, first 45 minutes, they were doing it. And I think having some success, getting the ball into dangerous areas. Buka with multiple changes from his left side to the right where Hader, and now he's putting the ball on the money to Hader's foot, and now he's got a one-on-one. And either guy lumping that ball into the middle where big-ass Brandon Vasquez is in there, dude. Like, he didn't connect on anything, but, like, he's just such a dangerous target. And not just in the box. I noticed Stuver clearing to where Wemby very excited about it as well. I noticed Stuver clearing the ball towards Brandon Vasquez and him be like his hold-up play. Again, it's such a small sample, but like yesterday at least, it was as advertised.
I mean, you look at the size of BV and like he is a fantastic target to go ahead and get that ball to try to progress the players forward here. I wonder if that's something that the coaching staff saw in regard to switching Buku over to the left side, because we know Biru, even regardless if the structure is very, very structured, he's going to find ways to go ahead and play the game. So, inverting, like you said, into the midfield and allowing Buku that space to get into advantageous positions where he has a singular defender on him, like, good luck with that. And then you pair that with Brandon Vasquez being a fantastic target up front, not only in your hold-up game, but as well as a target into balls, into the mix and everything like that, trying to get some headers. That's fantastic. Hader looking good on the right side as well. Absolutely the better team in the first half of this matchup. And that's not even at full strength. I don't know if St. Louis is completely at full strength with the guys that they've retooled with and everything, but still very encouraging to see. And like you talked about probably 2 episodes ago, the initial preseason games, we're not really looking too much into them, right? Like you're still figuring out a lot of things. These are the ones where you're starting to take away a little bit of hints and clues as to what this team is going to look like, how we're going to play. So I thought this was very encouraging to see this first half out of this club, and just really, really excited about getting to this regular season matchup on the 22nd.
When we were, we've heard Nico say, and other people who watched his Dallas teams and such talk about like the counter press that he likes to employ when the team loses the ball. And I think maybe that waned a little bit as each half wore on, but specifically in the first like 15 minutes here, Austin, I counted at least 3 times where you lose possession in the offensive third and within 6-7 seconds got the ball back. Yeah. And that is something that is encouraging, like continuing to be aggressive, even when you turn it over in those spots. It was a very encouraging first half. And then we come out of the half. Let me pull this up. Literally first possession of the second half here, We've got Owen Wolff coming down the left side here, kind of similar spot to where he assisted on the goal on Wednesday. Takes a little shove as well, but not before he puts the ball across the face of net. Hader Obrian puts it home. I'll run that back again once more. Off the throw in there. This is, 20 seconds into the half. Owen beating multiple defenders. Hader readjusting, finding the ball, putting it in the back of the net. You love to see it, man. And Owen Wolff, what I don't want to do is get overly excited about Owen's leap here this year, because we've seen so many, whether it's a guy like Jimmy last year who comes in with 3 goals and I think an assist, or we go back all the way to the expansion season when we thought Rodney Redis and Tomas Pochettino were going to be, all league caliber type of guys. Yep. But Owen looks very, very good, very aggressive, free, decisive, and physically capable, which really was not, I think he's been physically capable for a while now. But again, if he takes this leap, it only means good things for Austin, whether that's this coming season or looking down the road for a potential sale and GAM conversion. You really like to see it. And I think right now, I'd say from the 180 minutes that we've seen, and no more than 100 for any one player, he might be the most impressive relative to expectation so far.
Absolutely. And I think the difference that you see between those guys you brought up having success in the preseason versus Owen is that we've seen him perform at the MLS level. We knew he still needed time to develop his body. I still to your point there. He's looking physically more capable of handling these types of loads and everything like that. Looks a little bit faster, honestly. That clip right there might be, might just be a very, very small sample size, but he drew 3 defenders and was able to cook multiple guys there. So that's really great. Again, I said that I thought this was going to free him up, give him a little bit less pressure on him and everything like that. So I'm excited for Owen, and I do think that you're going to continue to see his growth. Still a very, very young player. Yeah. And, he's got a lot of time to continue to develop. So I'm very encouraged from what I've seen from Owen thus far.
Well, I should have mentioned this. We had no changes at the half, but then in the 60th minute, we do get a full line change in terms of the 10 outfield players, the new 10. You had Kolmanich and Riley Thomas, and then in the center, Svatok and Leo. Midfield, Irvin Torres, Diego Rubia, Micah Burton, Diego Abarca, CJ Fodre, Jimmy Farkalin. That was the line change there. And in the 88th minute, you put on that team where, right, you've got a couple adults there. You've got Svatok, you've got Leo, you've got Diego Rubio. But then you've got the rest of this lineup is now either guys that you expect to come off the bench for the first team or play the majority of their minutes for the second team. Stuver did get the full 90. And these guys were almost able to get to the finish line without conceding, but St. Louis was threatening really for the last 15 minutes as a whole. They were fortunate, I think, a couple times to not concede before they did. But then 88th minute, you give up the goal where you had an overload to the backside. Kolmanich went with the near post run instead of the guy who was a little bit wider. I believe it was Tomas Totlin who ended up putting it past Stuver. So you get the 1-1 draw, but I don't hold it against that lineup for conceding one goal in the fashion that they did, with St. Louis really throwing numbers forward late on and trying to create those advantageous situations. So I came away from Saturday, and I think really the 2 games as a whole, feeling encouraged about the team.
Absolutely.
Anything else for you on these 2 preseason matches?
No, sir.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's my business day.
Last business day here on episode 199E. We have a signing, but first we have a schedule change, or actually a pair of schedule changes announced by the second team here for the 2025 regular season. The home match against St. Louis City 2, originally scheduled for Sunday, September 21st, will now take place on Friday, September 19th. Kickoff remains at 7:30 p.m. And then Austin FC 2's away match against Minnesota United 2, originally scheduled for Wednesday, September 3rd, will now take place Friday, September 5th. Kickoff time remains 3 p.m. Central. I don't know why they're kicking off at 3 p.m. Central on a Friday or on a Wednesday initially, but 2 schedule changes there. And, you got a couple months to brace for those changes.
Start planning now.
Yeah.
Account for traffic now.
Exactly. So then we did get this signing, and we had a rumor about Daniel Ciesla. I want to say at the beginning of January. And so now this is confirmed here. Ciesla signs. He's 20-year-old center back, has American and Polish citizenship. This is, you remember, who was it we were talking about? Vlad is the guy who played in the Illinois, Chicago area. And then
there was someone else too.
It was Daniel here. He played born in Chicago, Ciesla, citizen of the U.S. and Poland, played for the academy and second team levels for Polish club Brukbet Termalika Nisiska.
Nailed
I
it.
need my look. I know Hudson has been helping me out with some of these Polish pronunciations, so I need that new guide from him here. Daniel also went on loan to KS Wysowska for the 23-24 season. He returned to his home club at the start of the current season, broke through with the club's first team, which is currently in first place in the Polish second division, and scored in his first team debut, which was a 3-0 victory. And the thing that stuck out to me about Ciesla's signing here, he is the first Austin FC 2 player to have a deal guaranteed through the 2027 season. We have a couple guys with 27, 28 options, but he is the first player at age 20 to have a guaranteed Austin FC 2 contract through 2027. So Daniel seems to be a guy for the future.
Interesting. Nice little pickup there. Yes, I think that there is absolutely something to be read into that. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it is, but they clearly see something in him if that's what they're going to go ahead and do and offer him there or give him there.
Right, absolutely. And you knew we needed another center back with the departure of Sal. So Daniel Ciesla is the newest Austin FC 2 signing. And I think that'll wrap up episode 199, which means, if you can count, episode 200 coming next week. So we'll have some fun stuff to start that episode. And most importantly, we will be previewing the opening night match for Austin FC against Sporting KC2 and the return of the nonsense, right? So if you get down with us on some of the, whether it's the MLS picks, the bets, what have you, the best ball, we will have our team points draft. This is where Ian and I square off. We'll have our over-unders, which I've already started drafting a couple of those.
Okay.
I'm going to defeat you this year. So we will have all of that. It will be a lengthy episode next week on episode 200. So I am very excited for that. And look, I also wouldn't hate it if we got a Green Smoke live stream here this week. But those may be in the past for this current window. We'll see. Anything else for you here before we shut it down?
Look, I'll settle for a Zuni arrival over everything. Ooh, so that's what we'll take. No, man, all set. Good one.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 199 of the North End Podcast. We will be back next Sunday discussing everything that I just mentioned there. And, of course, lumping in everything else that happens this week in the Austin FC universe. Enjoy your week, everybody. We will do the same. Less than 2 weeks till we see you all at Soccer Church. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.